Hello, everyone, and welcome to CHIMcast, Episode 1. I'm here joined by the ever-patient Defcamp and Melderon of Defcamp and Melderon TV, who have watched me record this intro far too many times, with far too many expletives issued in my failed attempts. So yeah, welcome to the show, guys. This is a fairly informal podcast. I just wanted to chat with some people I like in the creative side of YouTube and talking about video games, their personal lives, experiences of World of Warcraft. Anything goes, really. So do you want to introduce yourselves and your channel and say what you're about?
Great. Yeah, thanks for having us, Chimly. My name is Defcamp from Defcamp Melderon TV. I am the younger and lovelier brother of the two.
More beautiful.
Melderon, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Melderon. I'm the older and wiser brother from Defcamp Melderon TV. So I'm glad to be here, Chimly. I'm really happy to.
He does have proof for that now. He just got a PhD. So
he does have his PhD, but like you said, Melderon, PhD isn't everything. You know, some people.
Trust me, I know some people in higher education that I have no idea how they're there. That's true. So,
but
you know what? Yeah, it's true.
Yeah,
I do have to say, getting your PhD. With you going through it, I've gotten a little understanding of just how difficult and how much goes into it. So great job, bro.
Yeah, do you want to talk about that at all? Because I am playing with the idea of doing a PhD, like, you know, a few years down the road. Tell me why I shouldn't, or why I should. Like, what's it about?
Wow. So I think doing a PhD it doesn't test your intellect. It doesn't test how well you know your field. I think it tests how much bullshit you can take.
Okay.
And I think that if you're the kind of person that you can kind of keep yourself oriented on a goal, the rest of this stuff comes. The knowledge comes. The knowledge of whatever experimental design you're comes. What you really learn how to do is to take shit from people. And I think if you're able to do that, and sacrifice 4 to 5 years, sometimes 6 years of your life, making menial wages, living in, you know, with other PhD students in squalor, I think that you can do it. But that's it. And then, but when you're done, though, you have 3 letters at the end of your name. People can legally call you doctor, and you have a breadth of opportunity that you can really apply yourself to. So there are a lot of benefits, but the reason why half, this is true, half of PhD students drop out is because of it's a stressful time. It really, really is.
Well, it's Dr. Melderon. Does that mean that would you say it's mostly mental?
Oh, well, I'd say it's 99% mental.
Okay.
And 1% how well you know your field. I mean, like, yes, you do have halfway points, you have checkpoints, depending on what country you're doing it in. You have like these preliminary exams or halfway point exams, whatever you want to call them, but then you get you know, tested on your knowledge of the field. But I think the hardest part is standing in a room with 3 people who already have their PhDs, and they're just like throwing stuff at you, like, why is the sky blue? And you're like, I don't know, I don't study sky stuff. And they're like, well, you should know it. You know, and it's
really?
like, it's like well, that's a very extreme example. But what I mean is that they can ask you anything. Yeah. And if they feel that you aren't worldly enough or know enough about biology in general, you know, I study genetics, but if they ask me, like, you know, why does a 3-toed sloth do this or that, and I don't know and I'm just like, well, what's a sloth? They're going to say, how do you not know what a sloth is? You're a biologist, you know, stuff like that, where it's you don't have to know exactly the right answer, but you have to be able to bullshit yourself through it and be like, you know, I know what a sloth is, I know what they do, I know what they eat, you know, because you have to be a biologist. You know, you have your PhD in genetics or whatever. Yeah. But at the end of the day, you are a biologist too. You're not just this, you know. So I think that's the hard part. The hard part is getting tested about what you know, not about gaining the knowledge. That's anyone can do.
A lot of gotcha questions.
Correct. Yeah. And, you know, the best way I've ever heard it explained to me is what a PhD really means is that you're infinitely trainable.
Right. Yeah, well, it just shows that you can do the work, really, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. That's exactly right.
Yeah. Huh, okay.
But it was a fun time in my life. I mean, I'm glad it's over. But if you're going to do one, make sure it's something you want to do.
Well, this is the problem. I found that my undergrad killed music for me in a bit of a way. You know, I did my undergrad in singing, really, mostly. I did academic stuff as well, but a large part of the well, it's a vocal course, but we did academic stuff alongside that. And I got to say, for both the academics and the singing side of things, it it just poisons everything, because you go into there thinking, oh, I can't wait to do this. This is my dream. This is my calling. And by the time you've gotten a few years into that, you've forgotten that you sent yourself there at your own behest for yourself. And at least I started thinking, oh, how do I just get through this day, get through this lesson and then have a weekend and all of this. It was feeling like I was doing it for someone else, sort of forced to be. And I am afraid of getting that again with music, and
yeah, I was always afraid of that in a way. I have a lot of interest in life, whether it's history, science. I love I just love the idea of like studying the universe and, I would love to, if I was better at math, I'd probably be a physicist. But, I kind of feel like I was thrown into the field I was through my experiences. But I always was a little bit afraid to say, like, I'm fascinated with history and a lot of things like that. But if I got into it, would it ruin it for me in a sense? And I like to have certain hobbies and keep them as hobbies. But there's one thing that I want to do in life. I want to make damn sure that that's something that I not only enjoy doing, but at the end of the day, I feel like I've made some kind of impact on the world. That's how I feel, at least, that I've put my mark on the world. I've somehow made the world a better place by me being here. But it's still good to have, certain hobbies and things like that. But even till today, even though the field I've been into now, I'm not entirely sure if that's, what I want to do for the rest of my life, or where I'll be 10 years from now. I work in the recovery field.
Oh, yeah.
So I myself, I know I told you a little bit about it. I'm a recovering heroin addict, actually. And
Wow.
I'll have 5 years in just about a week.
Congratulations.
5 years clean. Yeah. Thank you. And I, it was a long journey. I learned a lot through it. I've learned a lot about myself. And I recently went back to school and became a certified recovery specialist. And I now work at a place called
For the Horde.
Well, I work at a counseling center.
Did you just dox yourself?
Yeah. You might want to just cut that.
I can cut that out.
So I now work at a counseling center, and my job there is just basically helping people and getting them through, their issues or what they have going on in their life, and using my experience to kind of guide them. So it's definitely something that I love doing, and but I never imagined myself doing it.
Completely, amazing thing to be doing, and really honorable. And to be honest, well done.
Thanks.
You're probably doing one of the more important things that there are to do. Really helping people that need it. No, I completely think so.
Yeah, there's a lot of people, especially in the US. I don't know how the heroin thing is in the UK. But it's
No, well, your situation over there is famous. We have issues, but the whole oxycodone thing, doctors giving them out like candies. We don't really have as much of that over here, thank God.
Especially here in the Northeast, it's gotten so bad. And actually, out in California, they had one of the biggest mass
suicide, though. Like fentanyl, I saw something about that. What was
that? It was a mass overdose. Where it was. So the fentanyl. The problem with fentanyl is, a lot of people, they started. For myself, it was starting with pills. I broke my leg when I was 13.
Okay.
I always, at that point, I was already smoking a pot and drinking, trying to find escape into another world. But
that's different, though.
Yeah, but at 13, I broke my leg and found my drug of choice, which was opiates, and was slowly introduced, with the pharmaceuticals into the higher, OxyContins. And then when they were taken off the market, the certain way they were, where you couldn't inject them or store them anymore, people started to go right to heroin because it was a lot cheaper, and the heroin became more potent. And then next thing you know, they started replacing it with a cheaper, more potent synthetic opiate, which is fentanyl. Now, the problem with fentanyl, it is such a small, minute amount of it is just as potent as a larger quantity of heroin would be. So you have people, doing just a small amount of fentanyl and overdosing. And even just you have like EMTs who touch someone who overdosed on fentanyl and they get the sweat on them, it gets into them pore. That's how potent it is that they can overdose just by touching someone.
Bloody hell.
On fentanyl. Yeah.
That's intense. It does remind me of actually something in the UK, especially in my city, Manchester. Not nearly as severe, not nearly as, life. To be honest, it might be life critical. Do you know Spice?
Yeah, absolutely. I had a very bad experience, as Melderon knows, with the spice that led me into a drug-induced psychosis for a long time.
You're talking about from Dune, that spice? Or
No. You remember the stuff that
I know, this synthetic pot or whatever hell it is.
Well, they call it that, but it doesn't do much to describe the stuff. It apparently, according to the addicts on the street, of which there are very many in Manchester now, only in the last few years, it's become quite an epidemic. But they say it's harder to kick than actual heroin, which, you know, if that doesn't send shivers down your spine, I don't know what will. But basically the UK government criminalised anything that is sort of psychologically active, or psychopharmacologically active. That's it. With the exception of alcohol, nicotine, and pharmaceutical drugs. It's like, okay, well, that's a bit of a come on now, guys. We make money off these
psychologically.
Oh, absolutely.
Substance.
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, I'm a huge nicotine fan. I like cigars, and we smoke cigars at least once or twice a week. So I will say that I do love nicotine, but at the same time, alcohol is way more dangerous than nicotine. As far as what I mean, you can kill a lot of different. You know, if you're in a car, you can kill people. You know that whole thing.
Was it Dr. Butt? I know he's got a great name, but Dr. Butt was a guy hired by the UK government to do tests on, you know, figure out what are the most harmful drugs, and apparently alcohol was top of that list. But they didn't like what they saw, and I think they fired him. But don't take that as gospel, but that's just what I vaguely know, bro science level. But I'm not one for advocating really criminalizing any of it, frankly. I don't think it helps anyone. But if you just see, okay, well, these guys that were on the streets, they were smoking non-synthetic cannabis at the time, and you know, you can argue whether that's good or bad, but then since that was made more difficult for them to get and they started getting cracked down upon, and then even the spice stuff that they could get from legal, what they called head shops, that was then made illegal.
Here we could buy them from,
well, they made it all illegal, and so now that the dodgy stuff that was, you know, people look back on fondly, like, oh, I wish I could still get that, because that was, I knew what I was getting there. That was safe to them. But now it's gotten crazy. Yeah, you go into Manchester city centre and you'll see, like, literally, they just look like zombies.
And so a big problem with the fentanyl issue is there's these underground dark websites, I guess, people find, and they buy large quantities of fentanyl, which is basically scientific fentanyl, where you don't even getting if it's really fentanyl or what's actually in it. You're buying it from this random place in China. They ship it over to you for a very, very cheap. I mean, people can make extraordinary amounts of money, but it's very dangerous because you have the chance of getting caught and all this. And that's the issue, is that they're making it accessible so easily because it's coming from these websites, and the potency is especially with the carfentanil, which is an even more potent type of fentanyl that is used on animals like horses, and that is what's being used today. And it's gotten to the point now where, like I said, people look back on the old days. Oh, at least when I was doing it was actually heroin, or it was actually this and that, and that makes me think, what are we going to be doing? What's going to be going on 10 years from now when things are even more insane? And a big thing.
We'll have classic WoW and virtual reality. That's the biggest drug.
Yeah, right.
I remember. I remember Doctor Who episode, and this person was selling moods. Right? They had sadness, forget, bliss, and it was like you would put the sticker on you, and you would just feel this actual mood and all that. And I mean, that's basically what is being sold now, with all the different drugs and all the different types of things that you can get hooked on. But a big problem is of how potent everything is nowadays. There's been a big more need for medicated assisted treatment, such as whether it's using synthetic opiates such as methadone, Suboxone, Vivitrol, things like that. But there's still such a stigma on those things that it's kind of the person who's dealing with the addiction is getting fault on all sides, whether it's they're an addict, at least though it is being perceived not as it was especially when I was growing up. They look at the addicts and they were nothing more than criminal. you know. But nowadays, the perception is getting a little bit better, but it still has a long way to go.
They're victims of a conspiracy against them, really.
Yeah. And a disease as well. I mean, the fact,
disease of the mind and of the lifestyle, even.
Absolutely.
Yeah, both. I mean, you're genetically predisposed. I mean,
that's true too. Yeah.
We had our father is a recovering addict, and two of our uncles on our mother's side are recovering. Two are recovering addicts. So, you know, I knew it's just weird. You know, I was the older one. I saw what happened to my dad. My brother really didn't see what happened. You know, I've never even smoked marijuana in my life because I knew that if I did, I would probably wind up going, because I have a very addictive personality. Whether it comes to like good things, like making videos, or like bad things like smoking cigars. Like if I don't curb myself, I'll smoke 2 cigars a day.
Yeah.
And I was doing that for a long time until I was like, no, I gotta stop.
Winston Churchill over here.
1 a week.
Yeah.
And it's expensive.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, and it's just, my brother and I just took totally different directions. Yeah. But, you know, at the same time, we both learned a lot from it. And we both are in a better place now than we were. But, you know.
Honestly, if I had the choice to go back and change things, and I know a lot of people, you say, how could you say that? But I don't think I would change, even though there were some horrible things I went through, and Melderon can be, you know, judge of that, you know, especially when, you know, what I was saying, this, all these different things I've gone through, but I wouldn't change it because of the person I am today.
Absolutely.
And, you know, the relationships I have today and what I've been through. I mean, life's the journey, right? It's about experiences, but, you know, I feel horrible for the people that didn't make it, you know, that they didn't get to where I got to, and they, you know, only overdosed one time and that was it for them. And so it is very sad to know that, you know, but again, all you can do is go on and use your experiences to try to help the next person.
Yeah, because it gives you a thirst for life.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you mentioned the everything getting stronger side of the argument, and it was recently sort of pointed out to me, and it just made so much sense. So you guys obviously know what moonshine is, right?
Right.
Yeah. So super strong, you know, grain alcohol, like what is it, 80%, 70%, something ridiculous like that.
It's moonshine. From what I know, it's the reason why it's illegal is because of how potent it is. Yeah, it can be to I think 70 or 80% alcohol. Yeah.
Right. I didn't even know it was illegal. Is it still illegal in America?
Well, there are. It's illegal to manufacture, like on your own, like
to make your own liquor. You can't make your own liquor.
Yeah.
So just at all.
At all. Yeah. At all.
You have to be licensed by someone. I don't know who it is, but you have to have a license.
Beer and stuff like that. Like, but to make your own like liquor, you can't do.
That makes sense.
Over a certain percentage, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. It's basically you just have to make sure you don't put methanol in your stuff and poison people by accident. That's basically what's going on there. Because distilling, I
think beer's okay because you're not.
Yeah. I've made plenty of beer.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. I don't really drink much now, but it was good fun. But basically, the reason that moonshine was so strong is because of the Prohibition. And you got to think it's the same thing going on now with just Prohibition in a different form for different substances. If you're a drug runner of alcohol or whatever it is, and you're having to run shipments of this contraband, you want to get the most bang for your buck, or your, you know, most buck for kilogram, or what do you guys use, stones over there? Yeah, pounds. So you want to get
pounds or fluid ounces. If you're talking about liquids, it's
fluid ounces. That's such a weird concept to me. A fluid ounce. Just saying it sounds silly. Whatever. But yeah, so you want to.
We do use liters though. So you'll see like on a soda bottle, it'll say 20 fluid ounces or point whatever liters. Yeah, which is weird.
Yeah.
We have, that's a 1 metric thing we use.
That is well, in the UK we've just got such a bizarre mishmash of things. So I know my height in feet and feet and inches and
meters.
Yeah, and I know my weight in stones, not pounds, stones. But I do everything else in metric, other than miles. And if you're driving in a car, then it's in miles. So yeah. And my dad's still working in Fahrenheit with temperatures, so it's very confusing over here. It's not like we have a better system; we just have lots of different systems, and
you guys are the one that gave it to us and screwed us. So
yeah. So remember that, colonials. But if you're a drug mule or whatever, or a drug kingpin, if you want to run dangerous, risky substances, you want to compact it, or you want to get concentrate the doses.
Yeah.
So that goes the same for everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, I guess we got on a very quick tangent into the drug war is not something that helps the average person, which I agree with.
It's
a little bit of a strange topic for the very first topic covered on this podcast.
Well, I have a good segue. Into that.
Yeah.
So,
hey everyone, that terrible jump cut just there was me realizing I hadn't done any audio testing. So apologies at the previous little section. That was awful and completely inaudible. But carrying on in Defcamp's story about his use of video games to help with addiction and all of that sort of thing.
Yeah. So a good segue, I guess, would be when the first time I got clean. I literally didn't leave my basement for almost a year and played WoW nonstop. Now, I will say that it did help me stay out of trouble, and it did also teach me to socialize better, and that's a good aspect of around this time. I think it was around the Burning Crusade. I was kind of forced to come out of my shell a little bit and learn how to, because a big part of me with using drugs and substitute was because I wasn't really too happy about myself, didn't want to show my true colors, this kind of thing. But playing WoW as such a social game really forced me to interact with people. And it's really interesting how, I know Melderon can talk a lot about this too, but how WoW really shaped us as people, especially WoW, but video games in general had a huge impact on who we are. Would you agree, Melderon?
Oh, absolutely. I think that games like Warcraft, what they do is so not only do they help increase your vocabulary. I noticed that when I start playing, when I start playing video games, I've always felt like I've had an edge over other people who don't. Not because I'm more intelligent. I think it's because games like epic games like Warcraft or Final Fantasy or these other games that have so much dialogue involved in them and reading that's involved, quest text, whatever you want to call it, you actually start to learn more words. And that alone, I think, gave me a head up in school. People always say games rot your brain, blah, blah, blah. Okay, yeah, first-person shooters for 24 hours a day may rot your brain, but I think games that you engage with on a much deeper level don't. They do the exact opposite. They make you smarter.
Yeah,
so that's
creativity, and imagination as well.
Imagination?
Even the FPS games, they do a lot. So the hippocampus region of the brain, I mean, Defcamp, you're the biologist here, so you know more than I, but...
Melderon is.
Sorry. Yeah. I pointed at him on my screen, if that matters. So that's at least part of the way you places store spatial memory and of places and stuff like that, maps basically in your head.
That's a good point.
And so
that's a good point.
We've got a hell of a lot of geographical knowledge stored up in video games, like more than the average person. A London cabbie's doing what's called the knowledge. They're basically, if you go to a London cabbie, not an Uber, real London cabbie, and say, take me to this I was in like a flower shop yesterday, like a red door, and there was like a barber's across the street, stuff like that. They're supposed to be able to take you to that place. And we're talking about London here. London is huge. And so they have a much enlarged hippocampus. They've cut open cabbies' brains after they're dead, hopefully after they're dead, and seen that this is substantially larger. And the same goes for gamers. I know where everything in Stormwind is, for example. And
that's a very good point.
That's really interesting. Yeah, but I would definitely like to say too that the creativity and imagination part. I know for myself, when I first started playing WoW, I was working. Where was I working? I was like 16 or 17. I think I was working somewhere loading trucks, and UPS? I remember, UPS, and I just remember, just all the time, like getting me through the day, just thinking about my rogue and thinking about, what I couldn't wait to do this, and imagining myself sneaking up behind somebody and like backstabbing them and ambushing them, and just little things like that. But I know as well, when it came to writing, I used to write a lot of music. And back when I was in high school, I had a band and things like that. And I used to write songs. And I would talk a lot about, my character or fantasy and things like that. And it really, hugely increased my creativity and imagination as far as music. And I know Melderon with he's been a fledgling writer. He's been writing stories, and I'm sure that has been a huge inspiration to him as well. But I really do feel like when people there's so much negativity about video games, you know, especially nowadays. You hear all this stuff about Fortnite, which I mean, who knows? Fortnite's not.
I think that's probably warranted, but yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, right. It probably is. No, we're talking about.
I don't know. I never played it. I don't want to talk about a game I never played.
But, well, people said that about GTA back in the day, you know.
Oh yeah, true. But think about a game like Final Fantasy Tactics, right? Or, you know, where you really had to think about what you were doing. You really had to, and in life, it kind of helps you think, like, you know, to think before you act, to sit there and strategize how you're going to do something, and, you know, not just to go ahead and do it without any thought, but to strategize. And at least this is what's happened to me, in with playing WoW has really opened me up. Because before, you know, we grow up in this society where you're a man, you should know things, you don't ask people for help, right? Well, WoW was a game where, especially being a noob, I had to ask people for help.
Yeah.
I had to ask people, what spec should I be? I had to ask people, what do I do to get into this dungeon? Where do I get these quests?
Or even just, hey, really, I need to have help killing this mob, you know? Back in vanilla, it was dangerous.
Just help doing that. And I felt less intimidated or less worrisome to ask people for help. And really, you know, that was what I had to do to get to the point where in my recovery was to ask people for help and stop thinking that I could just do it myself. I can do it alone. I can do it myself. And that really allowed me. So, I mean, partially you could give credit to my own recovery to World of Warcraft.
Yeah, that, to be honest, that doesn't surprise me, dude. For a very different situation, obviously very different. I had a really bad breakup in my first year of uni where, long story short, the girl that I went to boarding school with like the previous year, and this is like a crazy intense music boarding school, which actually I just went to like a reunion thing of today, so I got school tie on and shit.
Oh, nice.
I just decided to keep this smart clothes on for this. But yeah, like that's an intense place that people get like. I was wearing a heart monitor for like a week and a half because of the stress there in my final year. So like, it's just an intense place. So we had that like really intense sort of relationship where you're effectively emotionally reliant on each other. It's not a healthy relationship, you know, that sort of thing. And then she broke up with me at the beginning of my first year of uni to go out with my then best friend. So like those, like my two friends that I talked to, gone. So yeah, that was a dark time, but a good time in the end. I'm glad it all happened and actually those two are sort of, you know, they don't have many friends now. They sort of pulled that trick and other tricks on other people. So I'm not salty about it, but I purposefully bought WoW again because I hadn't played in Mr. Pandaria, and then at the time it had just been Warlords of Draenor, and I thought, okay, right, I'm just gonna not see daylight I'm just gonna properly know life WoW to get me through this, and it did.
Yeah.
Even Warlords of Draenor that didn't have any content. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know, you take what you can out of it, right? I mean, like that's what I love about WoW so much is that you can get lost in this world. But it's really not all about just finding an escape as much as it is about finding something inside yourself, right? And for me, I found out what I really enjoy in life, what I really love to do, what I like to do. I like to be the kind of person that helps people. I like to be, I'm a healer, right? So I tend to be the kind of person that is, you know, in the background, maybe not up front doing all the, you know, flashy stuff here and there, but I'm kind of off to the side in the back. But you know what? It's a very pivotal role for this group or for this raid. And that's kind of who I am as a person, right? I'm not out there. I'm not flashy. I'm not, hey, I'm here. This is me. But I do feel like I have a very pivotal role in helping people and doing what I do. And that's kind of who I am in game, and it's who I am in real life. And I kind of really found that through WoW in a way. I found out that that's the kind of person I like to be. I like to be a healer. I like to be the person who's buffing, who's helping you out, who's running through. You know, even when I played a mage today, I was messing around with my mage. I saw some guy getting beat up by a tiger or whatever it was. It was a hyena. You know, I went over there, I bandaged him, I made him food and water and buffed him and wished him a good day. You know what I mean? So even when I play a DPS class, that's the kind of role that I put myself into, is this helper, this person that likes to lend a helping hand.
Yeah, I'm completely the same. And when you were talking about the support worker stuff you're doing, I was thinking, I'm pretty sure this guy plays a healer. Like, I can remember him saying he does healing, and it just makes so much sense. It's like a dog's like their owner. I think someone's Warcraft character has a lot to do with their personality.
That's a good point. And I think that, you know, myself, I I started off playing, you know, I didn't know what role I was going to be. Honestly, I was a warrior, then a mage, and then I found my niche tanking. And I'd like to, you know, in that time of my life, I think I was the guardian, you know.
Absolutely.
And
Especially for me.
Yeah, I was just thinking
brother,
yeah.
But now it's just really interesting when Defcamp just made me realize this.
Yeah.
I'm more of an observer now, and I like to kind of see things, and that's why I heal now. And I transitioned from tanking to healing, and I always wondered why. And I think it's because my reality changed, you know. And now I like to observe things and study, and that's what I'm doing now in my job. And I think the tanking thing, I'm just like, yeah, leave that to the guys who want to do that, you know. And I'm in a point in my life where I feel like I've transitioned from that role of the protector or the guardian to this observer, or you know, I never think as a healer. To me, it's more of a what's going on here.
Well,
you know?
and also
and
you play a shaman healer too,
and I play shaman,
because I play a priest. Now you play a shaman where you're, you know, dropping totems, and you love the aspect of looking into to all the, you know, when you do your data grinding and you look into all these different things of it, you go in as a scientist would. I think that's so interesting of how you go about, you know, yeah, you could both play a healer, but if you played it in a different way, and you're kind of like this farce here, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where I'm more of like the typical priest.
Yeah. Farseer. That's such like, and that's what they do. They literally have farsight. They can observe things from afar.
Yeah.
That's creepy.
Exactly. Yeah.
and I just realized now, so in this podcast talking about it, you know, why did I switch from tanking to healing? And because I actually really like vanilla warrior. I love vanilla tanking, but I don't get as much out of it as I do with my shaman.
Yeah.
And I think that's why, is because my life's changed. My you know, what I don't know.
I can definitely be someone to just say that I've seen the change in you. You were, especially when you needed to be, when you filled that role as the guardian, as being kind of my guardian, helping me through what I was going through. You played that role perfectly. You were the tank, and as I came into my own and became, you know, better and stronger through, you know, your help and my own what I was going through, you kind of say, okay, now you kind of re-looked at yourself and said, what do I really want to do, and what do I like? And you found this new role, you know, whether it was through your schooling or doing this, and then so you kind of shifted into, you know, where you needed to be at certain times, and your character in the game really mirrored that. I mean, it really did. And yeah, you've kind of, you know, I mean, you still enjoy tanking here and there, but like you said, you found your role. And I feel like it's that constant look within ourselves. You know, WoW for me is not that kind of game where I'm just going to escape. It's really a big, any kind of game that you're, especially it has these great, you know, D&D aspects and great RPG, especially classic WoW. And it's not, unfortunately, not too much later on in other expansions, but you really get this feeling of putting yourself into the character, you know, creating a true avatar of who you are. And for me, WoW is the best game to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. That's why I can't play so many classes. Like a rogue, yeah, I think they're really cool, really fun. Can't play one. Can't buff people as you walk past them. And
I'm the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a real. I feel like I'm a weird person for having that as a thing, but genuinely that really bothers me about rogues and warriors and stuff like that, and even shamans. Actually, when I discovered that I couldn't just like throw a random buff on someone,
yeah, you can't.
I'm not sure how I feel about that. It's not cool.
Yeah, the shamans really shine in group content. That's where that's when you really see their buff capability. Yeah. But yeah, you're right. It's kind of sucks not being able to say, "Hey, bud, here's a something." Yeah. You know, even warriors. I mean, if they wanted to, they can battle shout someone, which is only lasts 2 minutes.
They have to be in a group, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you
just brought another point to me in with the shaman. So as a scientist, right, you find yourself working in groups a lot. Right. And that's kind of where you shine. So you don't really buff people as you're passing by, but when you're in a group content, that's when you really shine. And as a scientist, you really work with other people, and that's what
you don't really work alone ever. Yeah, that's true.
And I think what I've done a lot of is like stage performance. And I was thinking, so you think of a singer, you know, or any performer, you think, oh, they're egotistical. Well, without going into my own philosophy of performance, I think that they're not very good performers, people who have a big ego, for many reasons. But I think a stage show is sort of a team game. And in a good cast, you really do feel like it's a team before you go on stage. Everyone's like wishing each other luck and hugging, and it's very similar, I think, though I don't have any experience because, well, I got bullied by the sports kids at school. But I imagine it's what happens in like a rugby team or a football team before like a big game, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that my approach to healing, different from Melderon's, would be, okay, I don't really care about topping the charts in whatever it would be. So playing a druid or shaman healer in vanilla wouldn't really bother me because I wouldn't care to be the top of that chart anyway. But it's more like, okay, how can we as a team make this happen? How can we get a good show to the audience? How can we kill this boss? And it's, I get a lot of pleasure out of, supporting my friends, I think.
So do you like to play a druid? That makes sense because you can give people innervate?
Yeah, I'm debating shaman or druid at the moment.
Okay.
But then I have to debate alliance or horde. Basically, I'm not the only one, I hope, having a complete identity crisis every time I think about classic. It's getting worse and worse. It's like this deadline sort of looms towards me, like, oh shit, I gotta make a decision. Because there's so much.
Hopefully. No, sorry. Go ahead.
There's so much investment of time, is what I was going to say. Like when you make a character in vanilla, you can't just like make one and get to level 20 and think, oh no, because that took you about a week, or at least it takes me about a week,
Yeah,
that's true, man.
So
it's so true.
Speaking of
you
that,
have to really be happy with what you pick, and it's a lesson for life, I think, too. Is that, you have to kind of stick with the cards you're dealt. And
going back to what you said about not wanting to redo all of your addiction stuff, absolutely. You have to.
But I think that shamans and druid, they're very. I don't know. For me, they're very interesting classes because they aren't kind of pigeonholed into roles. I mean, paladins as well. But I just not really into class fantasy paladins. But I think that
at least not paladins, in vanilla.
At least not in vanilla. Yeah, I think paladins, shaman, and druids are the most. I mean, they are the most versatile classes in vanilla WoW. I mean, they have all four of them, in my opinion, can do all four roles. Well, I'm sorry. Well, paladins can't do range damage, but still,
exorcism.
Druids and shamans, I will argue that shamans can. Not saying they're the optimal tank, but they can do it. So,
I've done
druids and
shamans,
so yeah, that's awesome. That's really cool, dude.
And the struggle makes it more fun. I can't remember if it was me tanking or I was healing it, but I remember there being a tank. Yeah.
I've healed shaman tanks who've done amazing jobs. Amazing jobs. And but back to what you were saying about the finding what you want. Melderon recently made an amazing video, I thought, based on which faction to choose. And he looked at
love that video.
The banners of that. Do you want to explain your thought process of that, Melderon?
Well, I mean, it's honestly, I was just sitting in the garage watching a Mad Season Show video because his stuff is amazing, and I was sitting there watching the video, and he zoomed in on the banners, and I'm like, I never noticed the banners look like that. One's tattered, and one's angular, and one's blue. I mean, blue and red. Okay, probably noticed that, but never really noticed the shapes. And I'm like, wait a second, they did that for a reason. There's no reason. They obviously didn't. They could have just put two banners, one blue, one red. They didn't do that though. They made one angular, they made one symmetric, they made one tattered, asymmetric. Why did they do that? And I kind of sat there and I'm like, that's I know why they did it, because it embodies each faction. So I kind of was like, I'm going to start writing. So I just started writing and then just went from there. So the design philosophy behind every little decision they made is just it's incredible. It's just
I keep finding that in the music as well. In the Scorecraft videos I do, I am every time I find something like, what the hell? How did they do that on purpose? Like, for example, in the Duskwood
one,
music.
by the way, real quick, was amazing. The Elwyn.
Oh, I can't wait to watch it. I haven't gotten to it yet. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I feel like I need to have the perfect time to watch it. I get ready, gotta have enough time. I'm gonna sit here and watch it. Like I have that. It's like having a date.
Got a cup of hot chocolate, wrapped up in bed.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, the previous one, the Duskwood video, when I discovered that the main Duskwood motif, the piano one that you hear in the town often, that is like a warped version of the Elwyn Forest theme. I thought, whoa, that's like next level sort of referencing of they come up with all sort. There's so much deliberate artistry in vanilla and other versions of the game, but specifically in vanilla, I've found so many things that it's deliberate. They knew what they were doing.
let me ask you something, Chimley.
Yeah.
Okay, and be honest with me here. And do you feel like they still put that same kind of effort? Not that's maybe the wrong way of saying it, but there was a magic in vanilla, right? With the music. And do you feel like what's going on now is lost that somehow, even with the music aspect? Or is it doing it differently? Or what is it exactly? Why is the music of vanilla so iconic and give you that feel, that terror feel of that? And when in retail, it really doesn't sit with me like as it did.
This is a very difficult thing to answer, but I think one of the aspects of it that might be bigger than I give it credit for sometimes is that in vanilla, they give you less. Just like a horror movie. So, you know, I forget, I don't watch much horror. I'm a big wuss. But for example, maybe Blair Witch Project, okay? Blair Witch Project is objectively not very scary. If you just like watch it and, you know, watch it as a work of, as a production rather than, you know, an immersive experience. You think, okay, so actually what's going on here? Where's the monster and all of that? You don't really see it until like right at the end and all of that, but it's the suspense. It's your brain filling in what might be there. And in vanilla, the music's, instead of like a 20-minute block of music like you'd have in a zone in the modern game, and not even that modern, like even from Burning Crusade onwards, the music starts getting a lot longer. But I think just these small snippets of music, like Elwyn Forest, is literally about 3 or 4 minutes of music. That's it. Maybe 5 at a stretch. And so my whole video about it's only like 7 and a bit minutes long, and that's with me talking a lot. So actually, I think the Elwyn Forest music might only be 3 or 4 minutes. So that, when you think about it like that, you think, oh, surely not. This is music I've listened to for literally hundreds of hours. No problem. Would listen to it for hundreds more. Will, in fact, listen to it for hundreds more as soon as they release Classic. With no problems. It's never stale, because a few of the ways with not getting into like technical musicology and boring stuff like that, but some of the compositional techniques they use help with that sense of not getting stale and timelessness, which we can get into if you really want. But also just the fact that they have small fragments and your brain sort of fills in the rest, and they alternate which bits you hear.
Yes. Yeah. And it's done where it's needed to be. Like, you just made me think of something crazy that I just related to. The other day, Melderon and I were watching the movie The Untouchables. I don't know if you ever saw it, right? But there were certain scenes where we're like, why are they playing music right now? If they would have left the shot and just zoomed out, it would have been so much more, it would have been so much better. And I feel like retail is like they try to overdo it. They try to put music here. Yeah. Just do it where it's needed and let the setting be, like, have some ambiance music here, or I feel like they don't utilize the other aspects of the game to help. Where in vanilla, they utilize the other aspects of the game, the ambiance, the feel, to mix that with the music, and it all becomes this one great feeling that you get when you're in Undercity, right? That's where your Scorecraft does a great job of. You get the feeling of almost what the developers were thinking in this moment and how they were. They came to this mixture of the ambiance mixed with the setting, mixed with the shadows, mixed with the music, mixed with this one sound, and it all comes together into this rising feeling. Every time when you're in there, that you get this nostalgic feel of first time you set foot in there, and it's beautiful. It all comes together. And as we were watching this movie, we were thinking, like, they're putting music in here where it's not needed. It doesn't have the same effect as if it was, like you said, in a horror movie where sometimes just showing the visual and letting that sit in and sink in with you is more compelling to the audience and has more of an effect on the audience than having some shrill shriek kind of music going on where it's really not needed. Focus on what's going on there and put all your money on that, all your chips on that, and go with that and let that have the effect on the person. I think that's what Classic does so well.
So the scene he's talking about, so The Untouchables is about Prohibition. It's about Al Capone and about Chicago and how he was running the whole city. So the scene is this guy under his employ, one of his capos, whatever you want to call it, made a mistake and cost Capone money. and Capone got a baseball bat and bashed his head in at a dinner table. And there's all these guys sitting there, right?
Right.
So it's made in the late 80s or early 90s, and some of the music in those movies are kind of cheesy.
Yeah.
So he beats this guy to death, and it goes like no. Like, he makes a stupid song, and it pans out from the table up. So I said, Matt, rewind the tape and mute it. As soon as he hits him in the head, mute the sound. So he hits him. Matt Defcamp hits mute, and you just see the panning shot coming up and blood just filling the table.
The effect was
and
so
the effect was so much better.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why did they put music there?
Yep, and that's what retail does. They put music and shit where it's not needed.
They just put stuff where stuff isn't needed. And like, even storytelling or whatever, you just put stuff in your face. And I like what you said about horror movies, because it reminds me of what classic WoW does well. It reminds me of how The Shining. The Shining is, in my opinion, the best horror movie ever made, and probably one of the top 25 movies ever made. And and with the way the Kubrick sells you the horror is not by, flashy stuff. It's about short pans or changes in the music, or that long hallway where you see the two twins. It's just two girls standing at the end of a hallway. But why does it scare the living shit out of you? I don't know, but it does. And you watch that movie 10 times, and it'll scare you every single time you watch it. And it's like, it's just a way. Just knowing minimalism in movies, in anything, is actually goes a way farther than just pushing stuff in people's faces.
If you do it right,
it's
if you do
giving
it
your
right,
audience credit for being intelligent enough to fill in the blanks.
We talked about this today as well. Letting the audience decide, giving them, putting the option in, putting the ball in their court, so to speak, right? Giving them the ability to say this or to feel this, and not to be forced to feel a certain way, right? Because if you're forced to feel a certain way, you're leaving so much possibility out of, and we're talking about things like giving the players more options. And in Classic WoW, I feel like you had so many options in Classic WoW, right? Whether it was your spec, whether it was your profession, whether it was your leveling skills. The options were there to the player. And as they took away these options, the game felt less and less meaningful.
They tried to give players a set of tasks. Like they said, okay, you're a WoW player. This is what you should do. When they left it more sandboxy, WoW was never a total open sandbox RPG like RuneScape or something is, but back in vanilla, you had the freedom to fail.
Yes.
And that's important, because I spent my entire WoW career never succeeding, never raiding properly. I'm terrible at this game. I've never actually achieved anything of any value.
But you aspire to be more.
Exactly.
And
that's the rewarding thing. And I liked being around the people that did achieve more. I felt, oh wow, look at that guy, he's in Nax gear or whatever it was. And I just wanted to get my mining up to the max level and then farm stuff. That everyone has a level of commitment that they can give to a game. And so if you enable them to do whatever they want and enable things to be hard with no catch-up mechanisms, then every step they make along that path towards whatever progression they find valuable is meaningful to them. And I think this is something that people are really realizing in the modern game now, is that, so for example, 8.3, when that comes out, which is going to be the whole Naga stuff and Nazjatar, and that, I'd like to do that. I like Old Gods and it might be fun. But if I started playing the game now with this new raid that's about to come out, Battle for Dazara Law or whatever it is, the progress I make there is going to be completely invalidated in about 3 or 4 months' time or something like that. And it's just totally unrewarding. And also, that's basically the only thing you can do that's really much value. The previous raids are already obsolete in terms of gear completely. And you have, war fronts. Let's not even bother talking about that.
Oh my god.
Island invasions, again, sort of boring. PvP isn't really that compelling for me. I'm not.
Everything's instance off. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. There's no world PvP. The servers can't even support it anymore, which is actually something that scares me for Classic. I really hope that that's not the case for Classic. I want to have massive lag fest gameplay.
Yes.
But yeah, I think if they just gave us the freedom to fail, that would be enough.
Yep.
Freedom to fail. That's a good one.
Freedom to fail, and the importance. Like we were talking about this today again. Like in when you're doing AQ, you still have people going and doing Molten Core so they can get the Hand of Rag. And, people are still doing Ani to get the Ani buff. They can make the old raids were still relevant. And it made for so much of a better time because you weren't just doing the current content that was out. You're still doing all the other content.
It helps new 60s get into the game as well.
Exactly. Oh, this group who are geared in AQ 40 gear are doing MC. Let me go in with them, and I get the gear because none of them need it. They only need to get the whatever mats for this or that.
Shows them maybe what rating's like, and now they know how to rate a little bit. Now they can be a member of the guild, and
And you can support people that are bad. You can have 40 people in the guild. You don't need everyone in that raid that's 40 people to be, max DPS that they can do. Yeah. Which actually is a bit of a social thing. You can take bad people like me along.
And then, but then you have the other people who help guide you. You say, "Listen, let me pull you in the channel and talk to you about your rotation." And it's not nothing bad. It's just, hey, how can I make you better at your class and make it more enjoyable for you? And I've had people do that with me when I first started playing on my priest, who helped me, and those people made such an impact on me. They didn't do it in the condescending way. A lot of the times they never really did. They want to help you. They want to better your experience for you, and that's what the WoW community is all about. That's what the socialization is all about. And I feel like, in my experience, at least in Legion, there's really no social aspect of the game left in retail except for the guild aspect, right? Well, in my experience, the guild aspect is horrible because all anyone cares about is themselves. They all care about, especially in the mythic, let me say for mythic rating at least, right? You have an issue there? Or?
No, I just logged out of WoW. Don't worry, the fireplace is coming back. Fireplace is back, don't worry.
So, the issue in mythic rating for me is this, right? Everyone is so worried about their own parses, what their DPS is, and trying to get the highest parse and this on the website so that they are number one on this, and they're not focusing on the mechanics. They're sitting there tunneling, letting the healer keep up. The healer is working harder because this person is just trying to get a high parse, and it's more focused on what can I get for myself.
Sorry.
How can I better my? No, it's okay. How can I better myself and not the guild? When in Classic, it was about getting through this fight, working together. There's only 3 items or whatever of loot coming on there from the boss. And I think the forced personal loot is another wrong thing because when you killed a boss and the boss died, that was the raid's loot. Yeah. Right? We have to work together, figure out whose loot is this. Now you're all, am I going to get a piece of loot from this boss or not? Or no, it's all personal loot. Like, it was
also,
just like
you
little
can
changes like that.
You can give a token that you buy with gold or order resources, whatever the hell they are, and you can get another roll of the dice. It's like literally looks like a slot machine.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, it just little things like that where you're taking the guild aspect out of it. It's it's no longer about the guild. It's about the individual.
Also, when you think about removing certain debuffs, so this isn't true for all classes, but in vanilla WoW, a lot of classes apply debuffs that was outside of the normal DPS rotation.
Yeah.
And I think also removing stuff like that, if you add that stuff back into the game, people won't be as worried about DPS parses because
you mean like decursing and stuff like that.
Even stuff like that, even decursing. But imagine like a hunter having to run in the melee and apply Nightfall debuff.
Oh okay.
They're not. They have to break from their you just hit button. They have to break from that and go, okay, let me get my Nightfall proc. Okay, come back out again, start meleeing.
You're helping the guild. You're helping.
Yeah, I think removing all these little class things like debuffs or decursing or dispelling, all these things totems? Just make people just blindly do totems.
Do you even need totems anymore? Like
they're cooldowns now. They're like, I'm gonna throw down this totem for a AoE heal or something.
Oh,
but there's no like, oh my god, that guy needs Wind Fury. I forgot to put up Wind Fury for that guy. There's none of that.
Right.
No.
This guy needs salvation. I need to dispel this. I need to dispel this priest who's about to get feared so he can heal the tank. Or.
I mean, they do have purges and stuff like that. They do have stuff like that still, I think, but
not to the importance they did in vanilla.
No, like for example, in instant content, crowd control after vanilla, even BC was less. But it's doing Nomragan. All the engineers, that little gauntlet there.
Oh yeah.
So you know what that's like. And for example, when you get to what's the Gelbin Mekatork, was that the bad guy? Or is that the
yeah,
I don't know.
forget their name.
The bad guy
at the end with he's in the thing or whatever. Yeah.
Bad guy. By the time you get there, like the levels of the beginning mobs and then the end mobs, you know, those Dark Iron saboteurs or whatever they are, right in that end corridor. Yep. Holy crap, they're dangerous. And
they are.
Most of the time, I don't think I've ever actually done that with a party that was at an appropriate level. And so, yeah, you need it's very valuable to have someone that has some CC, like a mage or a hunter with the traps or whatever it might be. And that's something I miss from the game, because I don't care about winning a DPS race. I'd much rather be helpful, you know, whether that's buffing people or I'd like there to be a bard class or something that is literally just a support class, because that's got my name written all over it.
Play paladin.
I mean, paladin and vanilla.
Yeah, I don't know about wearing a dress. No, that's not really the problem. I don't know about the judgment thing. We have to just keep reapplying the seals.
We don't have to do that as a whole paladin, really.
True.
I don't really worry too much about that. But it is really cool. I think in vanilla, what I love about paladins in vanilla and BC, the ability to, like, you put something on the boss so that when you hit the boss, you get healed or get mana back. I love that idea as a healer. So you use your judgment of the light or the judgment of the mana. I forget what it's called.
Wisdom.
And so you're judging, right? And you judge on the boss, and now everyone who hits that boss is getting small amount of healing, or if you use the mana one, is getting a small amount of mana back. And I love the ability of, like, putting a debuff or putting something on the boss and getting healing from that. So you don't just have to sit there and heal. And I know paladins in Legion, they still had something like that, but it wasn't that much healing, but it was something cool. It was a return of that idea, which I loved. But yeah, paladins are great as that bard class. You know, they offer so many different buffs, and yeah. But I think something like just cursing, having something other than just DPS, and like in Mythic raids, there are the mechanics that you have to do, but a lot of people try to forego mechanics to, like, oh, if we have so much DPS, then we don't even have to do this mechanic, or if we have healers who are healing so high, then we can just forego this mechanic. And you end up getting to that point, or you get certain people.
I do have a question for you, though, Defcamp, about Mythic raiding. So, how much raid structure planning was there as far as class composition was concerned?
Class composition, not much. No, I mean, that was probably the least amount. Like, you can. I mean, there were some fights. Like, I remember in Mythic, it was the Avatar of Sargeras. If you had, but this was basically cheesing it, right? So if you had like 7 rogues,
because they had any vulnerabilities. Is that it?
You had the invulnerability, you have the feint ability, and you had to stack in this beam, right? And if they all just sat there and used feint, then they would basically cheese the fight because they were only taking 70% down.
So it wasn't a raid-wide issue. It was just like one fight that you.
It was like one fight, and that was basically a cheese. It wasn't really how it was designed to be. You were supposed to put just classes in there, have them soak up this thing for a certain amount of stacks, and then someone else would go inside the beam. So you're only supposed to, and it doesn't matter, you know. You can have a mage or a shaman for bloodlust. Like, it's not just the shaman anymore. You know, that's one thing. Every healing class basically has this one big healing cooldown where it, like, heals the whole raid. It doesn't matter if you're a shaman, if you're a paladin. I mean, there is like an aspect, like, I loved healing with as many different classes as I could, but it really didn't matter. You could have, you know, 3 holy paladins or 2 holy priests, or, you know, it really didn't play that big of a role as it used. Nowhere near. I mean, there was still somewhat of a small, you know, how many B-reses do you have? But there's so many classes have B-reses now. Like I said, so many classes have these big AoE heals. So many classes have, you know, you're like a melee DPS is a melee DPS. A ranged DPS is a ranged DPS. You know, you wanted a certain amount of melee to range, because a lot of fights were melee heavy, a lot of fights were ranged heavy, but it really didn't matter what range it was or what melee it was. So to an extent, Melderon, to answer your question. But, you know, a big problem I have with the game now is the add-ons and how much add-ons do for you. Things like weak auras. You know, you can you can get a weak aura for pretty much anything. Anything.
It's an arms race. It's a complete arms race between add-ons and the raid developers.
Absolutely.
Because I got to say, I didn't really use add-ons for the longest time. I think I didn't even play with add-ons in Wrath. Because I felt that it was cheating. I was also afraid of getting viruses back then. Some people did get viruses from add-ons back then, actually. There was plenty of drama about that. But sorry, a bit burpy. I don't like the idea of playing with weak auras, even though I do in retail now because it is required now. You literally,
especially you are literally required.
Yeah, for Avatar Sargeras, especially, just can't do it without that. So,
no, you can't.
Unless they destroy all of the add-on API and like make it impossible to put add-ons into the game, I don't see any way that they can make raids like intuitive enough to be able to be done without warnings and pop-ups and everything. Like, I think that drags me out of the immersion side of the game.
Absolutely.
That's like WoW as a arena shooter, or some game where you're playing a mechanical objective, like Overwatch, for example. Nobody cares about the story of Overwatch. Sorry, Blizzard, nobody cares.
No, nobody does.
Well, I mean, maybe it's kind of it's
some
interesting.
Of the cinematic things
I don't.
I quite like the cinematics. I do, but when you're playing a game of Overwatch, it's basically the same as you're playing Call of Duty or Counter-Strike or something. You know you're there. It's a test of skill, basically. But when you're raiding in vanilla, it's more a case of, come on, guys, let's take down this great beast that we've been questing towards for so long. And that's wonderful. It's very immersive. Especially, I don't play vanilla with any add-ons because I'm a purist like that.
You're a purist. So
I'm better than you. But
so like and then a lot of people have the argument that like, vanilla raids are easy, but like when you subtract the fact that you have all these add-ons in retail, and you subtract the fact that you have all these abilities that make doing this easier, it really, you can't really compare them because they're so different at its core. And there was this add-on we actually had a couple people that were using in our guild, and I couldn't understand why. That would basically, so if you're a healer, it would, and we all know that in vanilla, healing when you're in a raid, it's very competitive because it's all about who can get to this, especially when there's not a lot of damage going out. It's like, who can heal this person the quickest? That's why Holy Paladins do so well, is because they can heal so quick. So on the Horde side, you have these long heals, like you're using your rank 1, Holy Light or Greater Heal, which takes a long time, and you want to get there as quick as you can to get the person who needs to be healed, because there's 8 different healers, however many different healers. Well, there's an add-on that targets the person that needs the most healing, picks the heal to heal for, which will heal the most amount for the lowest amount of mana, and does it all for you. It targets the person who needs to be healed, picks the heal, and heals them for you. There's literally an add-on that plays the game for you. Now, to answer me, what is the point of that? What is the point, unless you care nothing about, all you care about is seeing yourself on the top of the healing meter?
Like, isn't that
like
just
if you want to play like
the gold farm botting? That it's the same thing.
Yeah, it's basically botting. It's basically botting. And if you're gonna do that, I mean, like, why even play vanilla WoW? It's just like, I don't understand. But I'm actually glad that they're gonna have to redo all the add-ons for vanilla, because when it comes down to it, there's no add-on that I would need. You know what I mean? Especially like the only ones I really feel like I like a lot, especially as a healer, is just some kind of rework a raid for that I kind of, because I hate when you drag the bars out. But if classic, which judging from the demo, they're going to have the raid frames that they have in retail. Which I despise.
I don't like.
I don't think they should. I do not think they should be in classic.
No.
But if they're there, there's no reason to have. But I just wish. I mean, like, why would you implement that? That's such a big difference of how it was in classic. I mean,
that is true. They're leaving themselves open for a massive flame from that one.
Oh yeah. They already got it from me. I don't like it.
Well, talking about the future of the game and when Classic is released to the masses, we mentioned just before the call went live about there's been a lot of drama in the gaming world recently. Bellular's made a new channel to cover that, and a couple other.
Really?
Yeah, Bellular News, I think it's called. It's pretty good.
Wow.
Bellular seems to have got quite a good grasp of the business side of things. I like his takes. He's good.
I like Az as well from heel versus babyface. I like his.
Yeah, that dude eats enough salt. Like he's a salty boy. He's
yeah.
I like him, but bloody hell, something like dude, chill, please. But I don't know. I like the guy, but sometimes I don't. I'm glad I'm not doing his channel content. Like that would be exhausting.
Yeah.
That's basically
especially
what
with the game and how it is now.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like he's got a lot to work with. And
they all do.
There's a lot of channels like that sprouting up now, just talking about the gaming industry in general. Bethesda, all of these companies that seem to be on a mission to kill their companies. I don't know what's motivating them. There's many things clearly, but I was thinking that when Classic WoW releases, alongside the overwhelming success of old school RuneScape, I mean that game is going great guns, and when these two games come out, along with Warcraft 3 remastered, all of these games that are looking towards a previous era of gaming, I think there might be some sort of consumer revolt already happening that is going to be really kick-started and just kicked up a notch. Because, do you know, I forget who released these figures, but I've seen in a couple of videos, I think Bellular covered it as well, so it must be at least a little bit legit, that they basically estimated the current live player base of WoW by looking at the live characters, like the most in active use characters across the world, and it was something like 3 million. That they had access to without looking at China figures and something like that. So, and some people even estimate as low as 1 million in terms of actual accounts.
That's what characters. I heard. Yeah, I heard about 1 million.
That's not good. That's really bad. And so
that's worse than what, a month into vanilla.
Yeah. Well, precisely my point. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
The lowest. Could be at the lowest it ever was, possibly.
Yeah, like as fan tips, these guys in the past have said, you know what, I'm going to go out on a limb. I think Classic might be bigger than retail. And I was like, oh no, that's so crazy.
Yeah,
and they're like,
now it's not like saying much.
I never thought that was a stretch, honestly.
I'll be surprised if that doesn't happen. They're not going to tell us, but
I agree.
They're not going to tell because they're going to keep it, I think, all as one sub.
Yeah, they are. Which
like, you're subbed to WoW.
Yeah.
So whether it's Classic WoW, retail, or both, you're subbed to WoW. You know what I mean?
People have a problem with. Maybe I don't, because at least by doing that, it supports the game, whatever, that's great, but they'll know which one of those games you're playing. They'll have the data on that.
They'll know on their end,
They're definitely there.
As long as they know.
Yeah, because a lot of the decisions nowadays, like, oh no, we looked at the player data, and actually we think this really not fun thing is actually the fun thing, somehow.
Really?
Yeah, I can't think of a concrete example, but a load of...
Oh no, they think that everyone really just wants to collect mounts, and that's it. That's all everyone wants to do. And
whereas
it's all about collecting mounts. It's all it's about.
Yeah, and it might be that that's just the only thing left to do that is even remotely enjoyable. Yeah, so they'll have a lot of data pretty soon showing that, oh, okay, well, this game that we thought, you don't want it, but we do, all of that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Clearly, they really do want that, and they're going to go absolute poop sock mode and no life the game like they used to back in the day. Whereas nowadays, I have no desire to no life WoW. I have a subscription purely so I can record footage for Scorecraft. That's sad to admit, but it's the truth.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that, would eventually, this may be the start of a reconnaissance, a renaissance. It's wrong French borrow word to English. That could change the gaming industry. I think what they really need to realize is people don't like microtransactions in games like WoW. It's okay in Dota. It's okay in CS:GO. It's okay in League of Legends because it's a fucking chess game, like Cargo said. You play it and then it's over. You play it and then it's over. WoW is continuity. It's a world. Seeing people with 300 mounts, they're just sitting there changing their mounts in the middle of Orgrimmar Stormwind. First of all, it's immersion breaking.
And second of all, like, how big are your bags, right? Like,
yeah, exactly. How can you possibly have that many animals standing around you?
Yeah.
It's just
selection game.
Dumb. And all that they need to realize is that, and many people have said this, many people will keep saying this, and this is nothing new. Accessibility killed WoW.
Yeah.
And when you made the game accessible to everyone, no one wants to aspire to anything. No one wants to do anything different. No one wants to, raid or whatever. If they can just do those stupid war fronts or island expeditions or whatever the fuck they've done now to the game, everyone can just do that instead of actually engage with the community and do something hard together.
There's the disconnect between the companies and the community. I mean, when most of your community now wants, I would say probably more than 70% of people would love to see Blizzard and Activision split. They would love to see that. What does that say about and the trust that people have in the company, the fact that Mike Morhaime decided to completely leave, and this isn't just Blizzard that's going on. It's going on with Bethesda, it's going on with EA, it's going on with multiple gaming companies. There's a disconnect. People are totally consumed with how much money they can get from people and not about the content and the gameplay. They're all about, can we get people to download this DLC? Can we get them to get this, instead of just saying, let's make a great game. Let's get the people to love this game and buy it because it's good and that's not how it is anymore. And
it's
that
very short-sighted.
Is why people are revolting, and they have every fucking right to.
Yeah.
Because I'm sorry, but games should be good and bought because they're good, because people like them, people like to play them, not to try to milk as much as you can out of the consumer. That's been the way they've been doing things now.
And hey,
that needs to stop.
Making money is good, because making money is what allows them to make this game for us. So I think I want Blizzard to make all of the money, but they don't need to do that and make a exploitative sort of system of microtransactions. Not that WoW's microtransactions are exploitative, you know what I mean, but they don't need to do their current business practices. They can have the cake and eat it. So look at CD Projekt Red, for example. Exactly how much glorious golden sunshine shines out of their ass right now. People love CG Projekt Red, fanatically so, because they're basically the only big company, a publisher in the industry right now that people think is on their side. People it's of the old school. For example, The Witcher 3, they released those 2 DLC packs, the Blood and Wine and the Hearts of Iron or Stone or whatever it was. They were great games on their own, and they were affordable. They were underpriced, frankly. And the amount of goodwill that they purchased through those cheap prices, not only did they make a lot of money in terms of sales, they made a lot of social capital, of goodwill to the company that they can cash in for years to come. And that's what Blizzard used to do. But they've been burning up that social capital for years now, and they're realizing that we're in the red. We're really in the red, and we don't know how to get out. So
you know what else Blizzard used to do too? They used to release games over a long amount of time, and if it didn't come to their standards, like Project Titan, when it took them 5-6 years, they scrapped it and used the remains to create a new game, which became Overwatch. But it didn't come to their standards, and they didn't want to release it to the player base because they knew it wasn't good enough for them. Would the Blizzard of today even dream of doing that?
I don't know, but certainly it seems like they've become beholden to shareholders a lot more than they ever were. So it's okay, how can we get profit quickly? Okay, store amount. We need to get something to show in the next quarterly, which makes sense. Obviously makes sense. But I wish they'd sat down. For example, Amazon don't make a profit. They don't, never have. And Jeff Bezos goes and says to his shareholders, okay, guys, trust me, okay? This is an investment. We could make money right now. We could just make all the money in the world right now, but we're going to not. We're going to invest it. We're going to keep building this. And then you'll make even more money down the line. If he can do that, then why can't Blizzard go to its shareholders and say, guys, store mounts, killing the game. If you want to get long-term value out of these shares, trust me, you don't want to do this.
It's like putting money away and it's like investment, right? How do these guys not know this? Aren't these people business savvy? Don't they have degrees in this shit? How do they not know that bleeding your player base? These are all short-term fixes.
They're too close to it. They're too close. I
guess that's what it is. Or they're too far away from what gaming is. Maybe they just don't get it.
Both.
It's like that, the South Park episode where it's like
both. Yeah.
to the South Park episode where they're like, "Oh, how do we kill that which has no life? We have to go into Warcraft." And the guy's like, "I don't know anything about Warcraft. I have a life." You know what I mean? Like all these things. Like, that's what they are. I mean, like that's not what they used to be. Blizzard used to know gaming because they were a bunch of gamers. They used to be
the player base.
Yeah. They were a bunch of neckbeards living in mom's basement like a year before they got that job at Blizzard. You know what I mean?
And Ian Hazakostas, game director, he understands. I think he understands. He's probably dealing with a lot of other forces. I think he's more or less. I think he gets it with us. But also, he's been in that little, rat race for a long time. So I think
he's been in that bubble for a long time too. And sometimes you don't grow when you're in that bubble and you hear the certain thing over and over again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I wish they did a bit more community outreach and actually just said, okay, players, without the trolls maybe, but genuinely, what do you think? Because if you've ever done anything creative, writing a song or whatever it might be, I don't know about you guys, but I have to ask someone else's opinion on it because anything I've ever made, I deeply, deeply hate and think is terrible. You can't see because, if you're sculpting a piece of marble or something or painting the Sistine Chapel, you need to go, oh, okay, that's what it looks like to everyone else because it's completely different to you. And I think there's a lot of that going on in game design in general, as well as a lot of like office culture, everyone repeating the same talking points. And also you don't want to disagree with your boss because he's your boss. And there's all this received wisdom. They think they know what's going on, whereas actually everything around them's on fire and they're not tuning into that. So yeah, I don't know how we sort this problem. I think it just has to be from the example of, oh, wow, look how well this thing that we have basically not done anything on other than just try and recreate it faithfully. It's completely the opposite of our business practices and our game design right now. You couldn't get further away from what we're doing right now, and it's wildly successful.
Well, if you stay tuned to our channel, maybe we'll have a couple of videos in the next couple of days that might bring some light to some of these issues.
We've been doing some brainstorming.
Yeah.
Very nice.
And have a couple of videos.
I don't know. It might fall on deaf ears, but you never know.
Defcamp ears.
Well, it'll definitely fall on my ears, yeah.
It's funny, living back home, we're recording audio for the next video we're doing. Mm-hmm. And I'm living in the basement now, which is
literally living in his mom's basement. Yeah. Could you get more Warcraft?
With a PhD.
Yeah, I can't wait to find a job. I'm like searching for jobs now and stuff like that. So we're trying to record. My mom's just running down the steps, like starting the laundry and like the heaters right here next to me. And every time I keep on, and then the upstairs. And my brother was just like, it's so difficult. And I'm like, man, I live down here. How do you think I feel? You have your own room. You know what I mean? But I don't know how we got onto that. But basically, we have some new stuff coming, and hopefully you guys like it. And we're trying to hopefully get Blizzard's ear. That's what these videos are built for. So we'll see how that works. But
we got to be loud.
Videos. Yeah.
Did you want to give any spoilers? To be honest, I might link them in the description already. I'm not sure when I'm going to upload this, but if it's already out, I'll link them. Yeah,
sure. Yeah, so one of them is going to be involved with the economy, of classic WoW and how. Yeah, Matt, you talk about that one. Definitely.
Yeah, it's going to be kind of more on the lines again about how accessibility is not everything, and how more accessibility it could be nice for some people on the. When you look at it, oh, this would be great. It can make me be able to play the game more or do this. But it has a lot of unforeseen consequences that we really have seen over the years. We have seen the proof of what happens when it comes to trying to make the game more accessible and trying to make things easier for the player base and what happens because of that. Even though there seems like there could be a lot of pros on the front, when you turn the coin around, there's always a lot of cons. And the unforeseen consequences are what we really worry about because we know there will be consequences.
Yeah.
So that is what this video is going to be about, which is the one
second one is I'm working on, although we help each other out, of course, with each video. But the second one is basically it's going to be very simple. Here's a list of things you need to do, Blizzard. Do them, and WoW will be a success. WoW in general, so not classic WoW, not retail.
And
or maybe it's a new
Blizzard become a success as well. Yes.
Yeah, I think by fixing retail, they can learn a lot about the gaming industry and what we want, and they'll fix themselves totally if they follow these things. You know what I mean?
The entire MMO genre.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
even like Diablo, even like StarCraft, it's just just follow these basic principles. Listen to your audience. Listen to the ones. So I think listening to their audience got them in this position, unfortunately.
Yeah,
but I think that listen to right now what's going on. Listen to the MMO community, the hardcore MMO community that's
and the classic community,
and the classic community. Just listen to us a little bit. We know what we're talking about. We know it makes a good MMO. Other games like Overwatch, Hearthstone, I have no idea how to. That doesn't concern me. I want the MMO genre to be healthy, and Diablo, because Diablo's what you call that, an action RPG, right? So RPGs, that's what I care about. Role playing games. So it's just some guidelines. Just follow these guidelines. They may not make you money right now, but they will make you money in the long run. And again, the most important thing is people will respect you again.
Absolutely.
And that you'll have return customers.
And you might have to play it hard at first. You might have to say, no, this is the way it's going to be. And they might lose some people that have been used to the game the way it's been because they've been kind of not to say babied into it, but they've been kind of, used to getting this and that and that, But when it comes down to it, if that's the kind of game for you, then, WoW is no longer really an MMO. Maybe you'd be more suited to another type of game, and there's nothing wrong with that.
I don't know if you guys ever got this, like, by your... I mean, I know you did Defcamp, but I know you, Chimly. Like, your mom ever said this to you, your parents ever said this to you. When you're going through rough times, you know who your friends are. The ones that stick around, right?
Yeah.
And I think that, if Blizzard does make these 10 or 15 changes that I'm going to propose, your real friends will shine through because those are the people that are going to love you for who you are, right? So all the people who don't give a shit about you are going to leave. They're going to be the ones that are just playing the game for collection purposes or the flavor of the day or the month. They're all going to go, right? But you're going to get these lasting people who have been your friends since 2004 or earlier. That's how you know who
1994.
Those are who your friends are, right? Those are the core people that love you and want to stay with you and want you to succeed. Because everyone wants you to succeed, Blizzard. Yeah. No one wants you to fall through the cracks. No one wants you to become the Roman Empire,
Yeah.
We want you to stay up there, so.
But if they do fall, someone else will take their place. I think this is an inevitability now because we know it's coming out, because we know the response it's going to have is going to be huge. People will love it. Because we know that to be the case, sort of don't have to worry so much. The likes of Alex Central and all this cadre, they're very, very hyper anxious about, oh gosh, we need to make sure MMOs, they stay true to the way we know it should be. And fair play to them, they are right. I think they generally understand the stuff you're going to talk about. I'm sure those guys are as clued up as you. They're very fanatical about MMOs. And they're just very, very scared that this might happen over again the same way it did to WoW. However, I think the Blizzard are not the only players observing, like you do as a scientist, Modron. This is an experiment that's being done in real time. Blizzard are not the only observers to that experiment. And there will be a successor to Warcraft. There will be another team of entrepreneurial developers that will make an MMO that does keep those design principles that we have now tested to... Actually, no, we've repeated the test. Yep, everyone really likes this. Yep, retail mechanics, they're terrible. We don't want them. And so... this is going to restart the MMO industry, whether Blizzard wants to be on board with that or not, really. People always talk about the MMO industry being dead. That's because everyone copied WoW, all these WoW killers, they were WoW clones as well. So as WoW changed, they changed with it.
So true. That's so true, Chimly.
That's true. You're absolutely right, dude. And I think that, someone, if they don't do it, someone else will. But I think at the end of the video, I just want to plead to them, like, not plead, but I'm like, do you want to just pass the torch on to the next one, or do you want to be that company that comes back or goes back to the laurels or whatever, And I don't know. Either way, it's fine with me. I would like to see Blizzard succeed because they've given me a lot over the past 20 years.
They don't have much longer to go down this road. If they keep going down the road they're going down, they're going to themselves.
It's
they've been given their terminal cancer notice, and you have cancer, and you got to do what you got to do. Get your shit together.
One surgery that can save you, and this is it. And if you don't take it,
it's really telling to see Asmongold and to see what he's thinking about at the moment. If I was to say one person that is WoW, you know, the average WoW player. He's like the Donald Trump of WoW, and I don't mean that in a negative way. Invoking Donald Trump is probably not the most sensible thing to do, but I mean by that you know, he stands for like the working man of WoW, if you know what I mean. He's the dorky, dweeby, you know, shut-in guy that is like the stereotypical WoW gamer. I love Asmongold, by the way. None of these are criticisms. But if you have him saying on streams, WoW is shit, don't play this game, like, why is it like this? It's not what we want. If he's saying that, then he's the canary in the coal mine. Like, that means that your core audience is not happy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I 100% agree.
Yeah.
Okay, well then, so, I think we've flogged that dying horse a few more times. Poor horse.
Dying is not a play on words there, huh?
No, sadly not. So, would you guys have any embarrassing stories that you'd like to share of real life things or in-game things or anything that you might not have shared on camera before, that maybe something pranks you pulled on each other as kids or something like that? Embarrassing, maybe first kiss or your mum walking in on you whilst you had that tab open or something like that?
I've got some, but I don't know how appropriate they would be.
You're welcome to share.
Start. I gotta think. You start.
Well, I'm trying to think here now. So, we want to talk WoW related.
Talk whatever you like.
We can talk about, so my brother and I, we used to share the same computer, right? Mm-hmm. And, I'm sorry, the same account as well. So we had one WoW account.
That's illegal.
It's true, it is.
Right. Well, you know, we may or may not have had one WoW account. And, you know, I used to do things like, you know, behind his back, maybe steal some gold. But we used to, not much. We used to fight about who was be able to play WoW. And there was this one time, I don't know what it was, but we were really both itching to play. Well, this was back in vanilla, I'm pretty sure. And we literally got into a fist fight about this. And I'm much bigger than my brother. And I picked him up, threw him across the room, basically. And as I turn around, you know, and like, I don't know, the fight was started about WoW, but it was like WoW was the catalyst. We were angry about something. And the son of a bitch threw a pair of scissors in my face.
Oh,
sliced
boy.
me right here. Yeah. Yeah.
He got that throwing knife.
We got into it. Yeah, he was just like, and it was just like, I looked at him like this. I was like, and remember I ripped my shirt. Ripped my shirt.
Yeah. I don't know why he did that, but yeah.
I was just like, and I like charged at him. So that's one pretty embarrassing. We got in a pretty big fight about WoW. We and my brothers fight, right? We got in some fights before. I had one time, like I remember, because my brother, being an older brother, we get in fights and things like that. But eventually, I got bigger than him. You know what I mean? I got taller than him. I got bigger than him. And when that day happened, I'll never forget.
It's like, watch out.
I threw him into the wall, and he like had this look on his face, like, oh shit, I can't like push him around anymore. And I was like, it's over.
Damn.
But yeah, I mean, I used to sit there and like I would spend all the time in my brother's room. We grew up, pretty poor, and the only air conditioner we had was in his room. So every summer we would sleep in the same room. And, when he was on the PC games, like playing Diablo or playing Warcraft 3 or whatever, I'd be on like the Super Nintendo or N64 playing over there. And I had to basically, a lot of times I would sit there and watch him play. I don't know where I'm going with this, but there was this one night where I forget what we were playing, but there was, we did some, pretty funny things. And I remember the one time where you threw up all over me because I was sleeping underneath you at one point.
I didn't mean that. I didn't do it because you were
sleeping. Yeah, but you threw up blueberries all over me.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. We used to shoot pigeons with the paintball gun outside that window. Remember that?
Yeah, we should. Yeah, there's a lot of. Oh my god!
Did you kill one of the pigeons? How were the pigeons afterwards?
No, we weren't shooting pigeons. We were just shooting like at
squirrels.
I wasn't trying to hit the pigeons, or the squirrels. Yeah. It was more of like a thing. Where were you going with this?
I don't know. I'm just naming off memories right now that
All right, I have a really. This is a crazy story, and it's true. And it's probably people are looking at me like I'm nuts, and probably gonna. Anyway, let's
just go through
safe
space. You can share. It's just us three. Don't worry.
It was Halloween night about 10 years ago, something like that. So me and my buddies, we went out to a bar or a nightclub for Halloween. It was like a Halloween dance party or some crap. I was in my early 20s. I was the DD, and I was dressed up as a convict. So I had an orange jumpsuit that said the U.S. Department of Corrections on it, and I had like a fake knife with me. I had another buddy who was dressed up as like Braveheart, another buddy that was dressed up as like Merlin, and this Indian guy who didn't get dressed up. He just was Indian that night. And then I had this other guy. Like, it's just funny. It's like, why didn't you get dressed up? It's like, Indians don't get dressed up. Like, all right, whatever, dude. So then this other guy dressed up with face paint. Anyway, so we leave this bar. We drive to a diner. So a diner, I don't know if you have these in the UK, but it's like a 24-hour restaurant that's relatively cheap. 24-hour. Oh. They're relatively cheap. They're notorious for, like, you know, you go there to get sobered up or whatever, right?
Yeah. You
get food, whatever you want, eggs, bacon, whatever you want.
I've seen them in movies.
So
Pulp Fiction starts in one, right?
Exactly. That's a diner. Exactly. Yeah. So I'm the DD. I park my buddy's Jeep, and we walk out. I'm the only sober one, and we're walking into the restaurant, and these two guys come out, and my buddy decides to say, "Hey, buddy, call my friend something." I forget what he said.
An asshole.
Dickhead, an asshole, something like that. And the guy said, "Screw you! I'm not. Who are you?" And they almost got into a fist fight over the stupid. And they're hammered, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, "Come on, guys!" So we go into the diner, and I'm like, "Oh crap! I left my phone in the car." So like this is like a half hour transpired.
Yeah.
I was like, "I'm gonna go out and get my phone." So I go out to the Jeep, and I open it up, and I get my phone. I go back in. So we're done eating. We get into the Jeep, and I was like, "Okay, guys, we got to drive back to my buddy's house. We're all going to crash there tonight." So I'm driving, and I hear this like clunk, 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 clunk noise coming from the car, and that noise wasn't there before we got to the restaurant. So it gets louder and louder, and I finally pull over on this big street, and it's like 3:30 a.m. and I'm underneath the car, and I'm having my drunk friend inch the car towards me so I can look underneath to see if anything's loose. He's hammered, and I have him in the driver's seat. No, it's so stupid. So all of a sudden, I see lights, and my buddy's smart enough, even though he's drunk, to put it in drive and jump in the back seat because he was illegally driving at that moment.
Right.
And I stand up, and the cop comes over, and he's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Well,
dear.
There's like this noise coming from my car."
Dressed as a convict.
Dressed as a convict. So this is, but it's Halloween, So I guess he thought it was funny. So like I'm like, I don't know, something's wrong with my car, and he's like, "Have you been drinking tonight?" I was like, "I didn't drink anything. I'm the designated driver." He's like looking at me like.
And then meanwhile, Braveheart and Merlin are in the car.
Yeah, they're all making noises and everything, and I'm like, and the guy's like, "Come over here." So he puts me on like he's like walks me over to his car. He's like does me do the whole field sobriety test.
Yeah,
and. He's like, touch your head and all this crap and walk in a straight line. And I do everything. And then he finally gives me a breathalyzer.
Yeah.
And his partner's with him now. And he gets out of the car and they're both looking at me. And they're both in my field of vision. So they're both in front of me. So I start blowing on this breathalyzer. And his buddy, his partner, his eyes get real wide. And they're like, "Holy crap, buddy. You're really drunk." And I'm like freaking out now because I'm like, I didn't even drink. And then I put the breathalyzer down and he goes, "We're just fucking with you, man. Have a great night."
Oh.
And I'm like, guys, now I'm like, my heart's like this, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, guys, my car's all screwed up. I don't know what's happening. And he goes, "Oh, you have cell phones. You'll be fine." Gets in their cruiser and
wait,
leaves.
Did he literally pull? You all have phones, right?
Like, he literally was like,
"You all have cell phones, right?" Yeah.
So literally, it's exactly what he said. So I get back in the Jeep, and now I'm aggravated, and I'm like, "Guys, just shut up. Let's get home." So I'm driving. My buddy's the whole time's like, "Get on the highway, get on the highway." And I said, "No, something wrong with the car. I'm not going to get on the highway." Thank God I didn't, because I'm driving down this country road and the sound gets louder and louder, then it just stops. So I'm driving, and the front driver's side tire falls off the car, and the brake rotor, which is the part that the brakes touch, starts hitting the ground and rolling on the ground, and sparks are flying by my head as I'm driving, and I'm like screaming like, "Ah!" So the car, I get it to a stop. I get out of the car. The tire bounces by, dung, 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 and it like falls over in the ground. I go over and sit on it, and I'm so mad.
Very pensive.
And like and everything's like going crazy. Like, and I look up and my buddy walks over and he's got, dressed up as like Braveheart with half of his face blue.
Yeah.
Hey man, are you all right? And I just start laughing because I can't take him as like a straight face because this guy's dressed as Braveheart with like a fake sword and the shield and everything. And
that was great.
And so what happened? What I think happened was I can't prove this, but I think what happened was when my buddies were messing with those guys. They waited in the parking lot for us. When they saw me come out and get the phone, they knew what car we drove in on, and they loosened the lug nuts of the car.
Yeah.
Those guys literally tried to kill us.
Yep.
Seriously?
That's the only explanation I can come up with, because there was no sound before that.
That's psychotic.
I thought of another good one.
Story, but
I thought of another good one. It's shorter.
Yeah, go for it.
I was trying to think of something that didn't involve illicit drug use, so I thought of one. Okay, so... I'm going to change the names of the story, so I don't want to give any, So we'll say
yourself once this podcast already.
Yeah. So we'll say our buddy, his name's Marty, right? And
oh God, I know what he's going to say.
Sally, right? So I'm with my girlfriend at the time, right? We're bored, thinking of things to do, and we're like, yeah, we should maybe prank call some people. We're like 19, 20. So we prank call my buddy Marty, right? I'm like, prank call him. He's a really funny guy, and he's like really stupid and like just goofy. And I got some really funny things I want to say.
Marty was with me that night in my story, by the way.
He was Braveheart. Yeah,
he was Braveheart.
Yeah.
So we call him up, and this girl, she's like, "Hey, how you doing?" He's like, "Who's this?" This like talk. She's like, "Who is this?" She's like, "It's me, Sally. Don't you remember?" He's like, "I don't know, no Sally." And she's like, "We met at the bar 2 weeks ago. We hooked up, and then we had a one-night stand that night." He was like, "What bar?" Because he would go out drinking like every night, and every weekend night. He's like, "I don't remember that." She was like, "You were really wasted." She's like, "We met up. We went to your place, and then I left that night." She was like, "I don't remember." She's like, "Listen, I got something to tell you." He's like, "What?" She's like, "I'm pregnant."
Oh boy.
And he's like. And then he was like, "Who the fuck is this? I don't know who you are," right? And then hangs up. So we're like, "Oh, fuck." Well, 2 minutes later, he calls back. He's like, so what happened? Tell me what happened. She's like, and so I'm giving her, as we're talking, I'm giving her, like what he looks like. She's like,
his physical appearance. Yeah.
And she's like, you started dancing with me on the floor, the dance floor. You started whispering in my ear, and you said, "Let's go back to my place." You took me back, and one thing led to another, and now I just found out I'm pregnant. He's like, "Are you fucking with me?" She's like, I think you're. And she's like, "Listen, I'm pregnant," and I'm like, she's like, I said, tell him, I told her that he has like a big nose and really short fingers. She's like, "Man, I hope the kid doesn't have your nose and stubby fingers." She's like, "Who the fuck is this?" So he's like freaking out again. She's like, "Yeah, I think just talking about how he's going to have like little hands." And so Sally, if you want to know, she's a really big girl. She was a nice girl, but just really big. Not the kind of girl that you would, first would be your first choice if you're out on a night. You know what I mean? Just I'm not trying to say too bad things about her, but she's very
better
big.
watch out there, man.
Yeah.
So Sally, and she's really funny. So she's saying all these things, and she's, basically saying like, "Yeah, I'm going to need to meet up with you. We're going to have to work this out and figure this out." He's like, "I don't believe a word you're saying." I'm like. And I told him the name of the bar they were at, which he was really at that week.
Yeah.
I told him, names of the friends that he was with and all this. He's like, I don't remember any of this. So hang up again. He ends up calling her back and talks to her for like a half hour. Right. So they're talking and talking. She's feeding him into it more and more. And we really got him. Like, he really thinks he got this girl knocked up. Like, he's really getting to the point where he thought.
Oh, my God.
So the night ends, and I'm like, man, we got him. And I don't know if maybe he thinks or not. So little do I know, 2 weeks ago, or 2 weeks go by, right? And
Marty calls me.
Marty calls my brother.
You didn't tell him that day.
No.
What
the
fuck?
I told my brother nothing about it, right? He's like, "Listen, man, this girl calls me up." Tell him what he said. Yeah.
He's like, "This girl called me up and said that I knocked her up at a bar." And I'm like, "Well, did you?" Because like, and I said, "Well, you might have edited that one out." I said, "Well, did you, Marty? I mean, did you knock her up? I was like, I wouldn't put it past you. And he's like, oh, I'm going to meet up with her. I'm going to meet up with her.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't think that's a great idea. But if you got to do it, you got to do it. Let me know how it goes. I go back into the house. Me and Defcamp are living together at the time. And I go, oh, you wouldn't believe this. Marty called me, blah, blah, blah. And I went through the whole thing, and his jaw.
Wait, no, just wait. It's didn't end yet. So.
Oh, yeah.
I get a text.
Yeah.
Or I get a call from my girlfriend at the time, and she's like,
"For the horde."
Hooked up.
Oh,
and
man.
I'm like,
names.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Take two.
Marty and Sally.
Yeah. So I get a call, and she's like, yeah. So Marty and Sally hooked up. I'm like, what? She's like, it's not just that. She was out there with him. They're talking. He told her that he wanted to handcuff her to the bed and do all these things, right? So I'm like, oh my god! And he's saying all these like really kind of like
things.
Freaky and sexual and like kinky, things to do with her. So, and then Marty tells my brothers like, yeah, I met this girl, and she's like really hot, and I know what she looks like. And so when he comes there and my brother, they're talking, I'm like, oh yeah, does her name happen to be Sally? And he's like, what do you mean? How do you know that? I'm like, Sally, you met her at the bar 2 weeks ago, right? He's like, what are you talking about? How do you know that? I'm like, yeah. Yeah. I'm like, yeah.
You keep
Marty.
doxing him, man.
I know. So I'm like, yeah, Marty. I know exactly what you did with her. I know exactly what happened. I know who she is. And so basically he's, telling everybody, yeah, I met this like hot girl, and all this, and did all these things with her. And at the end of the day, we basically orchestrated this whole thing. I told my brother, I'm like, dude, I was the one who prank called, like got him the prank call,
and I'm like,
this whole thing,
and like the whole thing is starting to come together like Game of Thrones, and I'm like, but the thing is like Defcamp didn't not tell me, like he just forgot and didn't tell me, right?
Yeah,
and then it turned into this epic thing where I go to him and say, you wouldn't believe what Marty just told me, and Defcamp's mouth's just like, and he's like, I met this girl, and I knew what he really did with her. I knew he tried to like handcuff bed and do all these kinky things with her. And then so like every time we would go out, I would be like, hey Marty, did you call Sally? And then he's like, shut up. This guy got so mad at Defcamp that he actually punched a parking meter one night
and almost broke his hand. Yeah.
I don't blame him. That is cruel.
Yeah.
Oh my god, dude.
I was a bit of a dick in my younger years.
That is a deep prank.
Yeah, it was very
karma comes around though.
Yeah.
Oh, it did. Well, he got me back something. Didn't he get me back somehow?
I forget. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think you've paid your price for that one.
Yeah, I think so.
Bloody hell.
But yeah, so it was Marty and
Sally.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and I think I'll just put in some bleeps. Because it might get pretty messy cutting that up. But good story.
Yeah. Just and put bleeps in my my first thing that I asked you. That's all you got to do. Yeah, but so that was the other story. We have a bunch of stories, but I don't know how much time or how much if you're worried about monetization or what. So
well, my channel isn't even monetized, so don't worry about that. One day.
Remember the priest story?
But no. Well, I think we should probably wrap it up. But I just wanted to say Chimly, if you guys are like here because you like, I don't know, you search in Defcamp Melderon TV and this popped up, or you haven't like watched Chimly's channel, guys, please subscribe and give him support. His channel is the most unique content. Yeah, the most unique classic WoW content or WoW content, I think, on YouTube.
Content, in general, just amazing content. This guy is extremely talented and is by far one of my favorite people to watch, without a doubt.
Oh, thanks so much, guys. I gotta say, I really love your channel too, and I really like you guys as people as well. Like, you're welcome to come on whenever you like. It's really fun having you guys on. And I didn't really have brothers growing up, and I didn't have many friends who played games or just in general. So it's really nice to hang out with you guys. And welcome anytime. But yeah, thanks for tuning into the podcast today, guys. It's been, I think you would agree, perhaps a bit of a messy one. Bit of a for the amount of planning that went into it, it was good. But stick around, and I'll be bringing you more shortly. But we'll see how it goes. This is fun.
It was an honor to be asked to be on.
It was had a great time. Thanks, Chim.
You're very welcome. I'll see you in the next one, guys. Stay chim.
Peace.